I think John Witherspoon is the funniest person I know. He's been funny my whole life. When word spread in late 2019 that comedy legend John Witherspoon had died at the age of 77, it shook the whole world. He was best known for playing the loving dad in the Friday movie series. Men who made people laugh nonstop with their mischievous eyes, unique voice, and charming playing are now just memories in his fans' minds. But behind the stage lights and the loud laughter, one question kept people talking. Why didn't the stars of Friday, the movie that made Witherspoon famous, show up at his funeral? Was it really true, or was it just a big misunderstanding? You'll be surprised by the story behind this terrible loss. Stay with us until the end to find out the whole story and help us remember a legend. The fun and exciting childhood of a famous comedian. The story of why the Friday group didn't show up to John Witherspoon's funeral is actually just the last piece of a much bigger picture. A picture that starts with his youth, his personality, and the path that made Witherspoon who he is today. John Witherspoon. Born. John Witherspoon came into the world on January 27, 1942, in Wayne, Michigan. It was hard for him to grow up in a poor home with 11 other kids. John learned right away how to stand out in a crowd because he was born in a house full of people. As a child, he used getting into trouble and having a good sense of humor to get the attention of his parents and brothers. The Witherspoon family didn't have a lot of money, but their home was always full of music and art. There were a lot of artists among his brothers. William Witherspoon, John's older brother, was a musician for the famous Motown label. He co-wrote the world-famous hit song, What Becomes of the Broken Hearted, in 1966. Cato Witherspoon, another brother, became a director at the PBS station in Detroit. At the same time, their sister Gertrude Stax became a pastor at a nearby church after deciding to follow a religious road. It was clear that each child in that family found their own way to shine. For John, that light was funny. John showed early on that he was naturally good at acting. He would tease his brothers all the time, turning everyday events into hilarious skits. Besides being good at telling stories, he was also good at music. He was very good at playing both the trumpet and the French horn, which are very difficult instruments to play well. This one-of-a-kind mix of music and fun slowly formed his own unique performance style. Surprising rhythms that are always easy to remember. At that time, Detroit was an industrial city known for making cars and for the rise of Motown music. That's where John Witherspoon grew up, and the sounds of the streets were always there. The roar of workshop equipment and the soulful and funky music on the radio. He grew up in that environment and has both street smarts and a deep love for the arts. John was the class clown at every family get-together. His parents would shake their head, and his brothers would laugh uncontrollably. Notably, Witherspoon wasn't acting crazy for fun. He was especially good at reading body language. To make his friends laugh, little John would walk and talk like his neighbors or teachers. Many people said he was naturally funny and could make even the smallest parts of everyday life into comedic plays. This helped him become the kind of famous actor he would become. People like the grumpy but likable dads or the nosy but memorable neighbors. A fun fact that not many people know is that John started out as a model. In the late 1960s, he used his height and unique personality to take part in a few small fashion shows. Even though it was only a short time, that experience gave John more confidence in front of large groups of people and taught him how to control his body, which is a key part of his unique style of physical humor. But what really made John Witherspoon want to work in the arts was his family. He thought that a black man from Detroit could make it in the world after seeing how well his brother William did at Motown. In a talk, he said, "I saw my brother do well in music, and I told myself if music opened a door for him, then comedy could open one for me." In his late teenage years, John began testing his skills at local comedy clubs. These were tough crowds ready to boo if a set wasn't entertaining enough. But it was in those clubs that young John honed his improvisation, learned how to engage with the audience, and turned failure into valuable lessons. Those late nights performing his heart out on Detroit stages prepared him for the road to Hollywood that lay ahead. It can be said that John Witherspoon's childhood and youth were far from easy. He grew up in a Detroit that was both prosperous and unforgiving, in a large family where each person had to prove themselves. But it was precisely within that environment that John found his identity, someone who could turn hardship into laughter and everyday life into art. And when we look back at his iconic roles, from Willie Jones in Friday to Pops in the Wayans Brothers, we realize that the root of his charm had been planted since childhood. John's humor wasn't borrowed from books. It was the essence of a life lived vibrantly from the very beginning. That childhood filled with the sounds of Motown, the mischief of life in a household of 11 siblings, and trumpet notes echoing through the smoky streets of Detroit, gave rise to a singular John Witherspoon, a comedy legend with an unmistakably personal touch. And it was that very foundation that propelled him forward onto a brilliant career journey that the next chapter of this story will gradually unfold. The journey to the top. Beginning in the 1960s, John Witherspoon explored various fields, even working briefly as a fashion model for a few years. But it was truly the spotlight of comedy clubs that called his name. It was in these intimate venues where he honed his improvisation skills, learned how to turn failure into material, and quickly became a familiar name in Detroit before expanding to stages in New York and Los Angeles. With a performance style that was spontaneous at times, outrageous, yet irresistibly charming, John could make the audience laugh the moment he stepped onto the stage. The 1970s marked a turning point. He made his television debut in the series Barnaby Jones, 1976, and went on to appear in Good Times, What's Happening, and The Incredible Hulk. During this period, Witherspoon was mostly cast in minor guest roles, but he transformed each part into a unique comedic moment. This charisma caught the attention of Richard Pryor, the legendary black comedian, who brought John onto The Richard Pryor Show, 1977. After just a few episodes, Witherspoon became an essential part of the show's comedic energy, helping make it a defining hit of the decade. By the 1980s, John Witherspoon transitioned into film. He appeared in The Jazz Singer, 1980, and quickly made an impression in Hollywood Shuffle. 1987, I'm Gonna Get You Sucka, 1988, and Bird, 1988. But the true breakthrough came in 1992 with Boomerang, where he played Mr. Jones, the father with the iconic line, "You got to coordinate about matching clothes." What seemed like a nonsensical line turned into a pop culture catchphrase, catapulting Witherspoon's name across the United States. However, the pinnacle of his career came when he played Willie Jones, Craig's father, Ice Cube. In Friday, 1995, produced on a modest $3.5 million budget, the film grossed over $27 million and became a cult classic in the street comedy genre. Witherspoon's character, with his blend of naive yet profound street wisdom, won over audiences completely. He became the film's comedic soul, brilliantly complementing Ice Cube and Chris Tucker. This success elevated John from a supporting actor to one of the irreplaceable faces of American comedy. His overwhelming popularity led him to return in News, XT Friday 2000 and Friday After Next, 2002. Interestingly, his pay reflected his rise from $5,000 in the first installment to $400,000 in the second, and reaching $1 million in the third. These weren't just numbers, they were recognition of the value he brought to audiences. Alongside Friday, John Witherspoon also shined on television. From 1995 to 1999, he played Pops in the sitcom, The Wayans Brothers. A clumsy but lovable father. The role became so iconic that fans affectionately called him Pops, both on screen and in real life. He later made another mark by voicing Granddad in the satirical animated series, The Boondocks, 2005 to 2014. Once again, John's humor resonated with a younger generation, helping him transcend age barriers and become a national grandfather in the animated world. Not stopping there, he appeared in The Tracy Morgan Show 2003, The First Family 2012, Black Jesus 2014, 2019, and even an episode of Blackish 2019 just shortly before his passing. Every step, every role, big or small, Witherspoon turned into an unforgettable moment with his inimitable style. He might have only appeared for a few minutes, but audiences remembered him for years. Looking back, John Witherspoon's career journey is a testament to perseverance and a deep love for the arts. He never stopped working, from tiny comedy stages in Detroit to major film sets in Hollywood. Colleagues called him the man who could make a bad script funny with just a look, and audiences gave him a special place in their hearts. Because his laughter always felt authentic, relatable, and deeply human. And it is from that brilliant career that we come to understand why his passing left such a profound void, not only in the hearts of his fans, but also among those who created the Friday legend alongside him. The comedian's net worth. With such a glorious career, it would be remiss not to mention one aspect that every audience member wonders about. How much did John Witherspoon actually accumulate after decades of dedication to the arts? This is also a key part of understanding the man himself, an artist who was both humble and knew how to assert his worth in the tough world of Hollywood. As mentioned earlier, it's still hard to believe that the role of Dad Willie Jones in Friday 1995 earned Witherspoon just $5,000. A surprisingly modest figure, considering the film went on to gross over $27 million at the box office. But that humble beginning opened the door for him to establish his name. In Next Friday, 2000, his paycheck jumped to $400,000, and by Friday After Next 2002, it hit the $1 million mark. These figures not only reflect financial growth, but also serve as proof of his rising stature in the eyes of both studios and audiences. By the time of his passing in 2019, John Witherspoon's net worth was estimated at around $4 million. That figure might seem modest compared to many A-list celebrities. Ice Cube, for instance, reportedly has around $160 million, and Nia Long over $13 million. But for Witherspoon, it stood as a testament to a solid and enduring career. He never claimed to be a Hollywood tycoon. He simply saw himself as an artist who lived comfortably thanks to the laughter he brought to others. What stood out was his perspective on money. Witherspoon once shared, "Don't care about getting rich. I care about working. If I make people laugh, that's the reward." This humility only deepened the admiration colleagues and fans had for him. For John, the most valuable asset wasn't the millions in the bank. It was the millions of people who laughed because of him. Real estate, a home, and a lasting legacy. If John Witherspoon's net worth reflected his resilience in the world of comedy, then his real estate choices revealed how he chose to preserve the fruits of his lifelong labor. Unlike many Hollywood stars who chased after lavish mansions and multi-million-dollar estates, Witherspoon opted for homes that were modestly comfortable, warm, and most importantly, suitable for raising a family. In the early 2000s, he invested in 2 properties in Sherman Oaks, Los Angeles, a quiet, safe residential area favored by many artists. The first house was purchased in 2001 for around $830,000, and the second in 2002 for about $550,000.